Okay. Everybody here? Dave, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do, 41.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. I know it's May, and a lot of people went home. Okay, we're going to start with the call to order minutes. Alan?
Good morning. As usual, the minutes from the April meeting were published in the May edition of the Cobrua Reporter, and it's on page 2. Has anyone found any omissions, additions, or corrections to those minutes? Is there any objection to accepting the minutes as published in the Cobrua Reporter? Well, thank you. The minutes are accepted.
Lynn? Treasurer's report. Do you have a mic there, Lynn? Want to hand in that mic, please?
Good morning. In our checking account, we have a balance of $36,491. Our CD is $37,745, for a total of $74,237. Last month's balance was $61,181. The increase is due to the annual dues that was paid from all of the associations. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. President's report, we'll cover on the new business. Bylaws, nothing. Security, Dan Elise is going to do, we have a new head of security. Dan Elise is going to introduce him. The M&O committee already met with him, the presidents, everybody met with him, but now it's the first time for the delegates to meet with him. Stan, you want to give them a mic, please? They got one? Dan, let me see if that works, please.
Good morning.
Thank you.
First, I'm going to give you the numbers for the security report for the month of April. And for the month of April, we patrolled 4,621 miles. We had 3,656 pre-authorization calls, 3,147 contractors, 2,663 food deliveries, and 2 auto accidents. Okay. I wanted to introduce you our new Chief of Security, Niles Malvasia, and I'll let him give a little bit of his background.
Good morning. Briefly, I am a 20-year law enforcement officer veteran from the state of New Jersey. I've served as the assistant to the director of police, as well as the commander of several specialized divisions. I've been in Florida for about 2 years now. I had the opportunity of meeting Ms. Elise, and this position became available. I look forward to working with each and every one of you and addressing your concerns as an association. I strongly believe in this is your property, and this is the way that you want things to go in a safe manner. I am here to provide the very best service and to make sure that my guards are doing what they're supposed to be doing, roving as well as the gates. And I just wanted to, introduce myself. I've only been here for about 2 weeks, so I still am getting my feet wet. If you could please have some patience with me. I'm learning your associations and your buildings and your properties one by one, because they do mean that much to me. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Elise, do you have anything else? Any questions for security? Okay, we have a question. You want to meet? Wait. I'll come back so everybody can hear you. Take your time, there's no rush. If the can't answer the damn lease at this meeting anyway, right?
Good morning, my name is Al with the Financial Association. Welcome, sir. I just want to ask you, besides your experience in the state of New Jersey, have you had any community experience? Any association?
I have. Since being in Florida, I've been in Florida for about 2 years. I've worked with other security outfits. I was a roving supervisor for Allied, and I covered HOAs and communities from Boca to Vero Beach.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Dan Lees, welcome. Okay, Stanley's Community Affairs, and then go with M&O, please.
Good morning, everyone. Community affairs, it's the same thing. We've got to impress upon our representatives that they've got to open up on Palmetto Park Road, we need an opening for the turnpike. This will relieve traffic coming into our area. With all the housing developments going up, it's going to be rough. It's not going to solve the problem, but we're trying to relieve it. So we should contact all our reps and tell them to make sure we can get a turnpike opening on Palmetto Park Road. And that's about it for community affairs at this point. No questions? I'll go into M&O. We met with management on April 20th. Present for management was Judy, Monica Wells, Dan Cruz, and Abby Koffler. Some of the highlights are we discussed the bus depot going on the south side of the parking lot, and we'll have trees to, I guess, camouflage them or cover them up, so it's not going to be an eyesore. We're planning on doing some renovations for the front of the clubhouse, and that'll be in next year's budget. We're working on a survey to see how we can work out better bike lanes, because right now they're all over the place and this may not be a safe area, so we're going to have a survey on that. There were questions about the new gate arm at the south entrance. The reflection wasn't good, so we've been asking management to see if they can improve the reflectors, because people coming in at night say that it just doesn't give them enough safety features to show them that there's a bar in the way. The legal department is working with Academy to see how we can resolve the damage they've done to our bus lanes. So right now, it's in the hands of the legal department, and we're trying to see how quickly we can come up with a settlement. Right now, we're miles apart, but hopefully we can resolve that. We've asked the Academy people to have better supervision on Mondays and Tuesdays for the buses. And we've asked them to improve the congestion in the aisles. People are blocking the area, so it's difficult to get through. We're going to examine the bus schedule, see if we have to make any changes. And we've asked the drivers to slow down and not to be too fast in the village. We met, of course, with the new security chief, who has a tremendous background. We're, on a trial basis, we've instituted rules for commercial vehicles, which still need some massaging. So right now we're trying to get something that'll be compatible to practically all the associations. Collections from delinquent accounts for the month of March, $61,900, which most of it goes back into our treasury. There were some people complaining about the bushes on North Village Lane, which is opposite Yamato Road. Keep in mind those bushes will grow to 9 feet, 10 feet, so it should block out most of the view from the roadways. A question came up about on show nights where we have the special entrance on the side, on the north side, where we keep it open from 7 to 7:30, allowing wheelchairs and walkers to come in so they don't have to go on steps or any steep inclines. The question came up to increase the time, but right now it is so difficult to get extra help, so we're going to stick to the 7 to 7:30 hour, and if we can improve on getting more help, then we'll change the hours. And any questions? On the report.
I have a theater question, so
You have to go to the microphone.
I just want to make sure it was now.
Was that in my report?
You talked about the theater, that's the only reason I'm,
Oh, I talked about the side entrance. Yeah, okay, all right, go ahead.
I'm not clear where it belongs, thanks. My question was regarding the,
Just tell us who you are, no disrespect.
Helene Harris Height.
Thank you.
I was in the theater last weekend, the first time. I thought that at that level you come in on, there was an area for walkers, etc. But there seemed to be seats in what we saw on the plans. And people were leaving their walkers in the middle of the place to walk, not the aisle, but the cross aisle, the large one. I wondered, was there a change in that plan?
No, we'll talk to the, I'll talk to Judy and see how we straighten it out. You can't block the area where the people walk.
And it clearly was.
All right, so we'll talk to Judy.
Thank you.
Paul Preston, Lincoln Association. You mentioned that these new rules for Century Village you mentioned that they're still a work in progress, they're not finalized, and they're in contradiction to our association rules. So could we make a note of that in the Village Century, that it's a work in progress and it doesn't apply to all associations?
Well, it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be 100% where everyone is going to agree on it, but it's a generalization where it'll apply to practically all of the associations. And if there's anything that you want to change or you have a problem with, I suggest you talk to Judy or send her something.
Okay.
But this is on a 6-month trial basis because it was so haphazard before that we're trying to get it uniform as best as we can. There's no such thing as a perfect system, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Stan, since you're there, you want to talk about cable? Is there anything we should know about the cable negotiations?
Right now, we're still reviewing the proposals that we received from 4 companies. We have some questions that we brought up, and hopefully we can come up with a recommendation within the next couple of weeks. That's about it right now. We're trying to get something that'll be suitable to all the associations, budget-wise and service-wise.
Okay, thank you. All right, since we're on committees, Sid, would you...
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
There's 2 phases really to the, we're getting ourselves mixed up sometimes. Not everybody, some association presidents mixing apples and oranges. Also, and this is not with the cable contract, but this is with general service with Comcast or whatever they call themselves, Xfinity. We had some people, some associations calling saying in the 3 stories there were loose boxes or there were loose wiring around. So instead of playing around, I got a hold of the Comcast, the technical division, and they did a 100% check to see how to resolve it. And the end result was for, I can read it off, it'll take 2 seconds. Brighton, B, D, and E, and H building, everything was resolved. All the loose wires were taken care of. Any boxes that were loose have been tightened. Dorset A and D had some problems. They took care of it, I say we. Fanshawe G, O, and J was taken care of. There are some wires there that do not belong to Comcast. And we believe it's AT&T wires, so we're trying to find out who the contact is at AT&T to get rid of their loose wires. But the cable lines and the boxes pertaining to Comcast have been resolved. Mansfield C&K had some problems, taken care of. Preston, A, C, D, and G, loose wires and boxes, taken care of. Suffolk is still in the process of being worked on, and since they finished with the 3 stories, they're now looking into the 4 stories, and Wolverton B had some problems which are resolved. So if there's any loose wires or boxes that you see that have to be repaired, either call Comcast or you can call me. I'll be more than happy to contact them. And I've been getting good service. If I talk to them, within a couple of days, it's resolved. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Committee Sid, we're going to listen very carefully. This is the most important one, 2028 committee. Sid?
Good morning. A chart of the runout of rents still owing to the Levy organization at the time of the proposed closing in December 28 was distributed to the presidents at the executive board meeting last week. I do not plan to distribute the chart today, but if anyone is interested, you can obtain a copy from your association president. My plan for this morning is to explain the governing provisions in our documents and then explain how those provisions govern the runout for each association. We all pay rent for use of the clubhouse and rec facilities. How much we pay is defined in each individual association's long-term lease. For my association, Preston, and probably all the other associations, the amount of rent is found in paragraph 5 of your long-term lease. We find the rent has 2 components, base rent and operational rent. The operational rent is the actual cost of running the community and is reported each year in the CenWest BORAC budget. It is adopted by CenWest only with the advice and consent of the M&O. It is the same amount for all 5712 units. It's printed annually in the reporter. The current budget number for operational rent for the 2021-22 fiscal year is $196.05 per unit per month. The other component of rent is the base rent. Base rent does not show up in the CenWest budget or anywhere else, except in each association's long-term lease. Excuse me. The base rent is the profit or return on investment that goes directly to the developer. I have here.
Let me take
Each association's long-term lease runs for 50 years. From the date the declaration of condominium was signed, was signed and filed. Unlike the operational rent, which is the same for all 5712 units, the base rent varies by the month and year the association's declaration was filed, and also by the size of the unit in that association. The exact amount of your association's base rent for each of the 50 years is contained in a 50-year chart in your long-term lease. You all signed on to your association's long-term lease when you bought, and should have a copy of it in the documents from your closing. It's a plain fact of life that the associations on the south side were built earlier, their declarations were filed earlier, and their 50-year lease terms will end before those associations built 2, 3, or 4 years later. It's also a fact contained in the chart in your long-term lease that the smaller associate units in each association pay less in base rent than the larger units in that association. I asked the CFO of Sen West if there was any reason for the differences in the base rent, and was told that to her knowledge, it was just a matter of the market at the time each phase of the development was finished. The runout chart distributed to the presidents shows the number of months remaining on each association's 50-year lease at the time of closing in 2028. The total runout still due the levies at the time of closing will be $8.34 million. The number of months remaining on the 50-year leases range from 3 months for Brighton and Cornwall to 46 months for Wolverton and 58 months for Yarmouth. In between, we find Dorset at 8 months remaining, Ainsley and Exeter at 9 months, Fanshawe at 10, Lincoln at 12. Guilford has 17 months remaining, Mansfield 16 months. Hythe has 21, Preston 22, Newcastle 28, Suffolk 30, and Rexford will have 36 months remaining when we close. As I said, the total runout owing at closing will be $8.34 million. If you add that to the purchase price of $4.75 million set out in the option agreement, the total acquisition cost is approximately $13.1 million. There is no decision to be made at this time on how financing will be done. Mark Levy is not the sole shareholder of the Levy shares, and he is not ready to explore with his family members the question of discounts for early payoff. The Levy family is currently holding paper for over $4.7 million per year for 6 years. That totals approximately $28.5 million. So there is little incentive for them to close earlier than 2028. It's also too early to explore bank commitments for 2028. Council will open negotiations on these matters when the time is appropriate. At this time, there's little to be done except continue to build our fund to pay for the costs of acquisition. The bylaws for the Cobrua Group are a work in progress at our attorney's office. I had hoped to have them to present to you this month, but that did not happen. I hope to have them for you for the June meeting. I thank you for your patience and will continue to keep you informed. And I'll take questions. I mean, I explained it all? No questions? Helene, you had to be the one.
It's Helene, not Helene.
One question is always good. And by the way, while we're waiting for Helene to come up, Helene, Helene,
Yes,
there was no rep at the executive board, so will you come up and collect for your association the runouts? And if there's anyone here from Newcastle and Exeter, please come up and take them for your presidents. Okay,
My question was, I understand what you're talking about with the runouts, but what does it actually mean in terms of what happens in 2028?
in 2028, we close.
Right.
The option agreement, there's no choice. If we choose to exercise the option, he can't say no to us.
Right.
If we choose not to, he can sell to someone else. He can raise all these rentals that we're paying. He can exclude us from the clubhouse. He can let the neighbors in and charge them.
That's not the question. The question is, when you refer to the runout with 6 months for Brighton,
Yeah.
21 months for Hythe, what does that actually mean? Does it mean that unit owners from different associations will owe different amounts of money?
Well, that's what I hope I had said, that each
That's not clear.
one of you, your expiration dates vary from 2 or 3 months to the longest being almost 5 years. Those associations, the unit owners in those associations basically will owe that number of months of rent. Still, we will close, you will have an equity interest in the clubhouse, but those amounts that you're paying in your current coupon will continue to be paid for those months.
And is that
That's one alternative.
Is that what
The
you
other-
referred
let me
to as
just
the
finish,
base
please.
rent?
The other alternative would be if we can get a bank commitment for the entire amount, and then the entire amount is divided, sooner rather than carrying some of the associations carrying it for almost 5 years. Again, it's nothing that can be decided at this point, and that's really what I want to emphasize, because we have no idea about any concessions that the Levy family will make if we can close this a bit earlier, or even what the banks will offer us, or what the banks will want from us.
Is that number you're referring to the base rent?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a ballpark figure of what a base rent is? Is it $36?
Well, it's different,
I follow that.
Okay.
The range.
Using my Preston, because those are the documents that I personally have, as I said, the operational rent, I pay $196.05. My base rent is $67 and change. So my total comes to about 260, in around there.
So is it fair to say the base rent might be for all associations somewhere between 50 and 100? Is that reasonable?
Oh, the base rent, yeah, oh, absolutely.
Just so people have an idea. So when 2028 comes, if Hythe has 21 months left, each unit owner, except for bigger amounts of space and less, would have to pay 21 times $75?
No, they will not have to pay it. Hopefully it will be paid out. Like you pay it in your coupon now, you'll be paying it over the next 3 or 4 years, whatever the monthly number is.
And do you think that would be a separate payment from however we're going to be paying our maintenance? So you'd have possibly 3 coupons?
Well, your maintenance will remain the same, not the same number, because everything gets more
So you'll pay to your
expensive every year.
association. Instead of Send West, you'll pay to whoever the new management is. And then the third number would be old monies due to?
No, the base rent will remain the same. That will not change for 50 years. And whether it's paid to Levy or paid to a corporation, and we have to do not the financing, the distribution of those numbers, somebody will be it just means that your coupon would last longer than somebody in Cornwall.
Sure.
But again, I want to emphasize that is not written in stone. It may be that by combining all the runouts together, we can get a bit better deal from the banks. And if that can happen, everyone would be contributing to the one number, that $8 million number.
Equally or proportionately?
Again, it remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you.
Helene, I wish I could answer your questions.
No, it's fine.
But again, we started really early because we wanted to amass the money to be able to do this. And some of the questions just are not,
No, that was very helpful, thank you.
thank you.
Sid, there's also a possibility on the $8 million that is due, he may want to settle and get it out of the way quickly.
Well, that's what I said.
So right now, everything is so premature that you really, it's all guesswork.
The only thing that we know, or again, it's still a guess, if we decide to exercise the option, before we exercise, we're gonna know from accountants, from engineers, from appraisers, from surveyors. We need all, it's called due diligence in the legal jargon. All this due diligence will have to be done and paid for. And that's the money we're raising now at the $1.75 per unit per month. So as long as we're raising that money by 2020, or probably 2026 or 27, we will be able to go to the banks and say, here we are, this is what we have to offer. We have collateral as the runout amounts that are still due. We could take a mortgage on the clubhouse because we're going to be the equity owners of the clubhouse, but it's just premature to not to go into it. It's always good to talk, but it's premature to make any decisions at this point. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent report, Sid. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody have anything on the old business? Okay. I have to just go back there, please, and take your time. If you can't make it, we'll come to you. Dave, you want to help this woman?
What woman?
Make sure she gets the mic down.
I got it. I'm here.
Okay, you tell us who you are.
I am. Thank you. I'm Suzanne Schieber. I'm in Newcastle. I'm one of the.
Okay, hold it. That's it. I'm trying to have a meeting here. That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead. 1 second, please. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I'm in Newcastle, and I'm one of the 4 insurance claims against the Comcast, which is now through they've moved it to their insurance company because there are leaks in my building, leaks that have come into my closet. I have holes, I have water damage. I know that you're trying to move this forward, but I have been told that the engineers were coming. I'm told about every 2 weeks, and it's been 2 months that first the engineers have to come before they can move towards any resolution of the holes on the outside of my building causing the damage. Could you tell me what you're doing to move the engineers forward? Because I try, and I don't have any power to move them forward, and it's not happening.
Stanley, this question's for you.
The same answer I gave you previously. We contact them and ask them if they can move it up as quickly as possible. But this is Liberty Mutual hiring an outside engineer. And the way I understand that he should be here within the next week or so.
Okay, I hope that's the case because I'm continuously told in a week, in 2 weeks, in a week, in 2 weeks.
I'm only a victim of what they tell me.
Okay, but you're also the person who can light a fire under them, and I appreciate your doing that.
That's what I've been trying to do.
Good, thank you. My other concern is about Century Village in general and our property values and the like. My condo is obviously damaged, and I know there's only 4 claims that have been made, but as we all know, in our buildings are associations that many of the condos are not occupied or occupied in a limited snowbird way, or how can I put this politely? I have neighbors who wouldn't know if they had mustiness in their closet, are not tracking on anything. So this, though, does affect my building. It affects all of your buildings. And so I'm wondering, whether all of the buildings will be checked for these leaks. Do you know that, Stanley?
As I told you a few minutes ago, or before the meeting started, they're doing, on the 4-story buildings, there'll be 100% check on all the channels to determine if there's any damage, in addition to the 4 claims.
Okay, that wasn't exactly what you said, and I'm repeating it again. I know you and I had a private conversation about this, but I think that all of us, I feel as a delegate to Cobrua, and that having this opportunity to tell you all that you want to be sure that your presidents or whatever of your association really do check what I call the skin of the building, the stucco, the outside of the building, because I'm not sure that every building in Century Village will really get checked. The insurance company says only 46 buildings will get checked, and so maybe they're lying to me, but I guess I am making a general statement to people throughout the village that it's your responsibility, I believe, for your association to be checking the outside of your building, because there are people who will not make complaints about the water inside, but that indeed infects all of us. So I just wondered whether the Cobrua talks to, this is my last question, Cobrua talks to presidents about checking the outside of their building? Because again, I think this is an issue for all the Century Village.
The Comcast technical division is automatically checking the buildings. The engineer will come in and do a 100% check also. So everything is being checked, because prior to my getting involved in this was not handled the same way. The proper way is, if there's some problems, to make it into a claim that goes to Liberty Mutual. Previously, it was handled differently, and I won't get into it, but right now we're doing the right thing. And it's just a matter of trying to get them as quickly as possible. Comcast, as I said, the technical division is checking everything. Like they went to all the 3 stories and checked for loose wires and boxes. He's also, the fellow in charge of the tech division is now going through the 4-story buildings to see what he can determine, and then the engineer will be there. So we're just trying to speed it up and get it over with, because it's been going on for too many years already.
Right. Okay, thank you. I just wanted you to know I'm paying attention to all this.
Thank you for bringing it up. We appreciate it. Ted Spar, you had something to say? We want to get this mic, please.
Just one more comment on what you had brought up, which I think is very important. Everything that was discussed right now with the engineer involves an inspection from outside the building. And I think you're very right in realizing that there might be things inside the building that can be seen that cannot be seen outside. But that has to be up to the resident. I don't think we can send anybody in to all the buildings to look into all the closets. I think the people inside have some responsibility.
You're right, but you know as well as I do that some people don't even...
Let me give you a suggestion. Let me tell you what I do as the president of Cornwall. Maybe, where are you from? Newcastle? Maybe you can contact your president and ask him exactly what's going on, because I attend president's meetings like your president should be attending, and tell everyone what's happening. I know you do have a representative there, and he's very good. He asks very good questions. In fact, he's sitting there in a blue shirt. That's where the information should come from. I'm glad you brought it up here, because Ted's absolutely right. The main question here is the cooperation from the residents. We can only tell you what happens on the outside. And I tell the people in Cornwall, excuse me, Lynn, I'm trying to have a meeting here, so thank you. And I'm sure other presidents do it, that we try to tell you, the residents of Cornwall and other residents, please, if you have a problem, if there's a water leak that you think that Comcast is responsible for, please bring it to our attention so that we can bring it to Stanley Siegel and have him take care of it. Thank you for bringing it up. We appreciate it.
Hi, Ernie Bloom, Yarmouth. Last meeting, we were talking about the copy of the lawyer's letter, going back to the buyout. Copy of the lawyer's letter being available. I thought it was available at the desk. Maybe I was mistaken. And then I called Cobrua, and you know, it's a part-time office and they're not open all the time. They're not really equipped to distribute large amounts of this information. And I think everybody should know about it. And basically, we have 5,700 or so units, and I don't think half of the people know about what's going on. I'd like to make a motion that we mail the lawyer's letter and this information to every owner.
Okay, now. Okay, hold on a minute. What's he talking about? I'm talking about are you talking about the 2028 report, sir?
Yes.
Exactly what report are you talking about?
Well, like the information, for instance, in the Cobrua paper, which not everybody reads, and some people that read it.
I'm sorry, we can't mail it to everybody. If you have
well, I'd like to make a motion that we do mail it to everybody, and if we don't have the equipment, I think it's part of the money.
Do you have a cost associated with that, sir?
No, I don't, but I think it's money well spent. We have $800,000 that we're going to spend on all these different things. I think notifying the owners is a very, very important aspect.
But they are being notified.
They are not being notified. In other words, successfully, because most of the people don't know about it. In other words,
emails.
It's not a matter of the effort put in, it's a matter of the results. And the results are more than half of the people have no idea there's even a buyout available.
Lynn?
And we're doing a very poor job of that.
Lynn would like to say something.
If you call the Cobrua office, they will email you the package that was given out.
But
That's what you want.
People do not even know the Cobrua. You know, like a couple of years ago, you were talking about people in this community. You said people don't even know what Cobrua is. And here they are responsible for selling their apartment or buying the apartment from Levy, and they have no idea what's going on. That's why I said I'd like to make a motion that we mail it. If it costs, it's well worth it.
Okay, yeah, he's making a motion that we spend a lot of money to send things out when it's available by email. Do we have a second?
Absolutely. Because it's our responsibility to let people know.
You seconded? Okay, all in favor of...
It is going out by email as long as they call the Cobrua office and request it.
Motion and a second, then discussion.
Just a minute, everybody's talking at once. What were you saying?
After you have a motion.
You need a discussion.
You have the question, that's what we're going to do.
So that's what I'm up to, discussion. Would you like me to go to my?
Yes, please.
First of all, you need the name of the person who just made the motion, please.
Ernie Bloom, Yarmouth.
Okay, well, give it to Alan after the meeting. Yes.
My discussion question is, he's referring, I believe, to snail mail. You're referring to email.
Snail mail.
Yeah. And secondly, couldn't we have this motion and then have Cobrua give us a rough idea at the next meeting how much it's going to cost, and then we can have a sensible vote if we think it's worth the money?
I'd like to add, Wayne, to answer your question. It has been publicized in certainly every issue of the Reporter for the last 6 months. It's been on Channel 60. Let me finish, please. It's been on Channel 63. It's there. It is also our plan. Again, some things are premature to ask at this point. Every year, when the new budget and prices go out to owners for the new coupons, a mailing goes out to them. We were planning to put in that mailing the $1.75 and what it's all about, and an explanation of what will be happening in the future. So we are thinking about it, but it just seemed like a real waste of money at this time, because even though there are many like this gentleman who are interested, many more just, you know, will put it in the circular file. So I truly would ask your indulgence. If you couldn't come to any of the meetings and you want a copy of the action plan, which is where all this information is, call the Cobrua office and you will get an email copy of the action plan.
So many comments now. Okay, back to your $1.75. You're suggesting that maybe sending a letter at the next budget meeting budget mailing for the $1.75 that's already been voted on, it strikes me as cart after horse as opposed to before. What I believe this gentleman is suggesting is full disclosure right up front so people can start
You've been
thinking.
getting full disclosure.
You're cutting me off, but I'm not allowed to cut you off.
But
I would suggest that the Cobrua Reporter does not go to non-residents, to the best of my knowledge.
it is, it's on tape.
I concur. It's available to be gotten online. You have to address the fact that your population is not all that savvy.
Thank you, Helene.
They're getting there, but
Thank you.
the gentleman is asking for more transparency. I think it's a valid question. I think finding out how much it would cost is a valid thing to ask.
I would rephrase that. The cost is fine. Transparency is not what's happening. We have live transparency. So you should not say transparency. Cost, yes. Transparency, it's available to everyone.
But you're saying Channel 63. You're saying Cobrua
No, we're
Report.
saying if you have an email and you want to find out, we'll send you an email.
We're saying it's a
talking about
question of
email.
personal responsibility also, that you should ask a question, and if you want it, you call and you ask for the action plan. The action plan runs, I don't know, 15, 20 pages. To mail that to everybody, where many of them are not at all interested, does not make, I don't think, fiscal sense.
So again, we're back to discussion. Perhaps there could be something sent that says, the way you get the card from First Service that says, if you want to see the whole budget, call and we'll send you a full copy, which I do every year. Most people throw that card in the garbage. Same thing is true. If people you're dealing with an elderly population that is not that savvy. They're asking for help.
Hold it. I resent that. You may think that, but it's not true, because maybe some people here who are older than you that may be smarter than you.
How many people do not use email or have a computer? We run into it every single day in our association. Yes, of course, I can get it by email. That's adequate for my purposes, but it's not for this gentleman or people he's representing.
Ted? Yes, go ahead. Ted Sparrow wants to say something.
That was all my discussion.
Okay, Ted?
On that same subject, though, Helene.
Okay, I'll say.
And Sid, early in the meetings with the lawyer, he anticipated at one time hiring a perhaps, he said, when we talked about the $1.75, he spoke about having a public relations firm hired to get information out to everyone.
I remember hearing that.
So he anticipated that, and I think it's something we should follow up on. I don't know whether it's the action plan, or you spoke about having a separate 2-page appendix onto the Cobrua newsletter, the information out. I don't know what it should be yet, and I don't think Helene does either, but it was just anticipated at one time that we would have to find a way to get in touch with them.
You're correct.
So it's very reasonable.
You're correct, Ted, that is in the plan to have a PR, I don't know if it's a PR firm or some professional firm that will send out and notice everybody, and that is in the plan. Again, there are so many things, it's just premature to do them now.
I don't believe it's premature. That's the difference
here. Okay, that's the difference. And frankly, Aline, I've heard, and you've all heard me, so I just think we should move on. If you're going to take a vote, let's take a vote. But I just feel like we're beating a dead horse.
So we're up to motion, second, discussion.
There's a motion on the floor.
Make a motion that we table this for the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to table it, and discussion on the motion? No, there's no discussion.
Mr. President, point of information, please. The gentleman over there said he doesn't know what Cobrua does or its function. For 10 years, there's been an article in the Cobrua paper.
He did not say that. He said some people.
Right,
I
okay.
didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
In the Cobrua paper, for 10 years, there's been an explanation of what First Service does, what Management and Operations Committee does, what Cobrua does. So the fact that if you didn't read it, it's not our fault. This has all been given out, and all you have to do is pick up a paper every month, and it's the same thing over and over again, which has been updated.
How does a snowbird
We
pick
keep
up
talking
a
about.
Okay, what's going on
We're
then?
talking about the efforts and results. You're talking about the.
We have a motion on the floor
Yeah.
for the
Well,
table.
he was- I'm sure you answered it.
It's been second, so we're gonna, I understand.
Can you read the motion again, please?
I make a motion.
No, not your motion, the original motion.
This is the original.
Well, we got a motion to table.
That is the second motion, you didn't finish
Okay.
this motion.
No, you vote on the
Motion is
motion.
we send a copy of the lawyer's letter
Vote on the
to
motion to
every
table
owner
first.
by mail, snail mail.
Alan, you're the parliamentary guy. Alan, you're the parliamentary guy. You vote on the motion to table first? I believe you vote on the motion to table first.
No, because it's coming after. You need a parliamentarian.
I got him right here.
No, that's the
I
recording
don't care what you
secretary.
say. I tell him I got one right here.
It's a valid point.
What they're deciding now is whether Helene's motion,
I don't have a motion.
No, we have a motion to table.
excuse me,
Okay, Helene, if it's not your motion, sit down,
We're up to
please.
the discussion.
Sit down, please. He doesn't need guidance. Sit down.
I'm not guiding him, I'm stating
Well,
this,
sit
I
down
don't
where you
have to go
belong.
back and
Then
forth every time.
sit where you're assigned to sit, please.
Which motion are you on now?
What's that?
If you're on the second motion about the tabling, then there's gonna be discussion, I'm ready to be here.
So we save you the walk, is that it?
Yes.
Just,
Maybe you'd like to continue the discussion of the first motion.
no, we have closed.
Then you have to vote.
you can't.
You can't make another
You can't.
motion while there's a motion on the floor.
Yes. So you can take pictures. Yeah, you can take pictures. I don't care. I don't care if you take pictures.
Could you please read the first motion? Alan, could you read the first motion, please?
I didn't hear quite exactly what he said. My
Okay.
impression is he would like to mail to all 5,712 unit owners using postage stamps something that contains information about 2028. I think he suggested a
Yeah,
lawyer letter?
It's the action plan. It's the action plan that he's talking about.
So the action plan
I know.
is like 20 pages here, and you can't put it in an envelope. You have to put it in a one of those large manila envelopes. It requires more than one stamp. But he's proposing, I understand, to please mail this action plan to 5,712 unit owners, including the ones who are sitting right here and can just pick one up and take it home with them.
There was
So-
nothing available right here to take home.
That's my understanding, but I don't know his exact words. If he would like to formulate.
Alan, please ask him if that's his motion.
Right.
The motion to table, excuse me, I believe the motion to table is actually a point of order, which would take precedence over the motion. If indeed that is a point of order,
What is the
we would
point of
have to
order?
vote on the motion to table before getting to the actual motion.
That's what I think too.
Again, what is the point of order, please?
Okay,
Well, I'm sorry?
Point of order refers to there's a point of
I'll tell you
order
what
that's
we're gonna
being
do.
discussed.
Let me tell you what I'm
Table
gonna
is
do.
not a point of order. It's like
Well, he
comment.
wanted to table until the next month, the amount of, to find out the amount of money it would cost
That's
to
not what he
mail.
said, that's what I said.
okay, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We have a motion to table. I'm gonna accept the table and motion, the motion to table, vote on that. If I'm wrong, you can call the state.
You don't
Okay.
vote on a motion to table.
We have a motion to table, we've got a second. Any discussion on the table of motion?
I suggest that you ask the gentleman if he would like to amend his initial motion.
No, I'm not, don't tell me how to run the meeting, okay? I tell you I'm running the meeting. If you have a problem with me running the meeting, please call the state and have them correct me. Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion to table. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Both of you, please sit down. Thank you very much. All right, that's old business. Anything else under new, old business? New business. Is Judy still in here? I can't see. She left? Okay, I'll read this then. We're going to close the clubhouse on Friday, May 13th. Between the hours after 2 o'clock. It will be closed for the rest of the day. Now, why are they doing this? They are doing it because the fire marshal is requiring a smoke test of the new fire alarm system. This will require us to close the clubhouse on 2 separate days. They will introduce smoke into the system, and the clubhouse will need to be closed to the residents. The first day will be May 13, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. The second day will be announced at a later date. What I'm going to ask Judy to do is have this posted in all the buildings. Just reading it here is not enough. In fact, but I'll probably do a vote in Cornwall, make a robocall. But I'm going to see Judy after this meeting and ask if she will post this in every building. Okay, under new business. What's that? You want to mail this to everybody, Fred? Did you say that? Yeah, okay. Yes, no, nothing. It says here, buses will run with limited bathrooms. Yes, buses will run with limited bathrooms available at the clubhouse. So what I want to do is have Judy post this. I will talk to her right after this meeting, and that gives us a couple of days to do it because it's this Friday. And I'm going to make a robocall in Cornwall, tell them what's going on. Okay. Yes.
New business. I'd like to hear, please. I read and heard verbally that Alan Perlman had submitted a resignation at the end of today's business, and I was wondering if you could comment on that.
I was just going to say that, but I didn't. I wanted you to speak first.
Okay.
Alan Perlman, I met. Alan Perlman is not going to resign. He's very valuable. He's going to stay here. We value his work very, very much, and I'm glad that Alan is going to stay with us. That answer your question?
Well, I also value Alan's work, but I would like to know why this whole thing transpired, why there was something about a letter that somebody didn't like and you and Stanley asked him to send it.
Did you hear that from someone who attended the meeting?
I heard verbally.
No, I asked you a question. It's yes or no answer. Did you hear that from someone who attended the meeting?
I heard it in writing and verbally.
You didn't hear it from someone, the person who told you who wrote this, did they attend the meeting?
I believe so.
No, they did not.
Okay.
So, now, wait a minute, it's not over yet.
No, it's not.
You want me to accept something from someone who was not at the meeting, but told you what happened at the meeting. I think if you went to court, they called that hearsay evidence.
I saw a letter from Alan Perlman that said you and Stanley.
I don't care what that says. I'm telling you.
Pardon me?
I just told you, now sit down.
Judy Merzon is
I answered your question, please sit down.
I'd like to know why you asked him to send a letter.
Why what?
Why did you ask Alan to send a letter instead of you sending it?
I didn't ask him to send a letter. Whoever told you that was not at the meeting. He doesn't know. I did not ask him to send a letter. So please sit down, because you have been misinformed. And I don't want anybody standing there that was misinformed. And if you dance there, Fred, I will stop you from. I will tell you to stop. Stop.
No, I had a cramp.
I'm telling you, if you dance there, you will not record this meeting, and I can stop you. You sit down. Fred, stop dancing.
I would again like to say Alan Perlman does a fabulous job, and I really feel terribly
I just said that. You
you
don't have to
named
repeat.
him a patsy.
I mean, you don't have to repeat what I said. I just said it. I think, did you hear what I said? Did she have to repeat it? Oh, thank you, Elaine, for trying.
Mike?
Yes. Yeah, no.
Somehow we got up on this, the subject was brought up, but the real subject is the letter, not the letter, but the the newsletter that was sent out that had the picture of it. How does that get buried by this?
Sit down, please, you're not being recognized. Sit down, you're not being recognized.
Let me wait till you get back there. Let me wait. And that's,
What's that?
I want to keep the mic for a minute.
All right, let's calm down,
I
everybody.
want to wait till Elaine stops.
What's that?
I want to wait till she gets there so she can hear what I have.
Okay, yes, Elaine. What
No,
do you
Ted
want to
was
say?
I, like many others, saw the newsletter, if we call it that Fred sent out, and I was very upset about it. I didn't think many were.
If anybody was upset about it, why didn't they write a letter?
He did.
Because he doesn't come.
I'm running to speak.
And I have the mic right now, okay? So I was upset about it. I came to the executive committee meeting. There was no discussion about it at the executive committee meeting. But after the meeting, Mike came to me with a copy of a letter that had been prepared.
By whom?
By
It's none of your business, by whom.
what?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it's
who wrote the
the
letter.
spelling, if you check the spelling, it was accurate. I don't know how detailed you want to get on this. But the letter seemed to be an appropriate response. And he asked me if I would sign it. He didn't want to sign it because it was an attack directly on him.
Why would that
And I
be a
said,
reason not to sign it?
And I said, yeah, and I said, yes, I would sign it. And I signed it and sent it out. The concern became, the discussion that comes up of whether it was before the executive committee approved it. No, that didn't happen. But that's not the issue. The issue is what is known as a newsletter, which may or may not be, and was sent out to a readership. They all had it, and there hasn't been very much of a response to it. That's the concern. That's what I'm concerned about.
So my concern is the veracity of what's being said.
Your concern is no concern because you heard everything here second hand.
No, I read
Yes, you did.
letters.
Who told you? Who told you?
I read Alan Perlman's letter.
You read Alan Perlman's? Who gave you Alan Perlman's letter?
I got it in my inbox, unknown who sent it.
Helene, you just said you're concerned about the veracity of the letter.
No, not about the veracity of the letter, the veracity of what happened.
The email. Let me say this, there was an email, and you all saw an apology for someone who spoke without really thinking about what he was saying. You saw somebody
Are you
who
referring
owned,
to Alan?
you saw somebody who owned up to a mistake, apologized for it, and I think now we should just move on.
Was that Fred Hadley?
No, that was not Fred
He's
Hadley.
referring to Alan and he's referring
Well,
Hadley.
I'm not talking about Alan. I'm talking about Fred Hadley's
But
letter.
she's talking about Alan.
You're talking about Alan. I'm wondering why nobody's concerned about Fred Hadley's letter. And I suspect
Because it's
people are
not a
concerned.
Cobrua issue. The Cobrua issue.
Oh, I'm the Cobrua president. It certainly is a Cobrua issue.
So why didn't you write a letter if you felt so strongly?
I don't write letters to people I don't care about.
Well, so the point's moved. If you didn't write a letter,
just a minute. I don't write letters to people who do not put the truth in their blog.
do you understand the
No,
concept of
let me
freedom of
finish, let me
speech?
finish. Do you know that he sent the threatening letter to Alan Perlman telling him if he printed this letter, he was going to contact a lawyer? Did Fred Hadley tell you that?
How is that
We have a
threatening?
copy of that letter. We have a copy of that letter.
How is
I
that
want to know,
threatening?
just a minute, just let me finish. I didn't interrupt you.
Yes, you did. Numerous
Okay, I
times.
want to know if Fred Hadley, he can talk later on, if Fred Hadley, everybody sends him a letter, if he calls them up and says to them, if I print this letter, my lawyer's going to contact you. Did you send that letter, Fred? Yeah, you can talk. Did you send that letter? Did you send a letter to
Am I
him?
recognized by the chair?
Yeah, you're recognized. Did you send a letter telling him that you were going to have a lawyer contact him? Yes or no? It's a yes or no answer.
You don't give yes or no answers, so
No,
why should
I don't care about me.
What
I'm talking about
happened
you.
is I received an email from the Secretary, Alan Perlman.
Right.
And the email contained a letter calling for an apology for an image that appeared in my newsletter.
Right.
Above that was a line that, according to Alan Perlman, direct discussion that I had with him, not hearsay, he said that he wrote that line because you, Mike Limongelli, told him that the executive committee had decided that this letter should go out upon consultation with an attorney. That, sir, is a bold-faced lie.
Fred,
If you
just a
told
minute.
that to
Let
him,
me ask you a
excuse
question.
me, excuse me.
Did
If
you call,
told
did you,
that,
wait a minute, did you call me and ask me if I did it?
yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did
No, you
on
didn't.
Friday morning.
No,
I
you did
called.
not. You called me and asked me about things
Anyway,
in Cornwall. You
what-
asked me nothing about this, Fred. Nothing.
Anyway,
and you know you asked me nothing about
What
this.
you have to explain is why you, as the president of Cobrua, sent Alan Perlman on a fool's errand.
No,
and
I did not.
Yes, you did. Alan,
Because you wanna know something?
Alan, it's time
Let me
for
tell
you to
will
speak.
okay, let me finish.
Excuse
You want to know what
me.
happened at the meeting? You weren't at the meeting. I'll tell
I
you.
spoke to 3 presidents, and they said that there was no discussion. Yet you told Alan Perlman that the board approved
I
it.
did not tell Alan.
Alan, did he tell you that the board
Did I say
approved it?
you two guys at the meeting? Did I ever mention the board of directors?
There was no discussion. I thought I said there was no discussion at the meeting about this at all.
I'm asking Alan Perlman, were you told by Mike Limongelli that the board approved the sending of this email to me? Alan?
I was not told that.
That was not told. Well, that's what you
So
wrote.
you lied, Fred.
No, no, no,
You
no,
lied.
no, no, no.
Yeah,
I have,
yes.
no, no,
If
no.
Alan Perlman just said he didn't tell you. So
Then
you're saying
Alan
he had
Perlman
lying.
is lying through his teeth because he
No,
sent me an
you're the
email.
liar, Fred. You're the liar.
He sent
You're
me
the
an
liar.
email saying that he was told by you and Stanley Siegel that the board approved it. You lied to Alan. Alan is not man enough to tell you to your face that you lied to him, but he sure as hell expressed that sentiment in writing, and I published that letter
just one more-
verbatim. Verbatim.
One moment here, please. I'm asking, please, that Mike recuse himself from this meeting. Dave Merzon, your first vice president, please take over. This is totally inappropriate for our chair and one of our other residents to be arguing like this. The chair must recuse himself from this
I don't have to
discussion.
choose myself, just from
Dave
this discussion.
Merzon, please
Just,
take over and please move on.
Yeah, we
This-
can move on, but we
this-
don't discuss this.
You can't say anything more. You've recused yourself.
Sit down.
Shut your mouth.
Okay. Okay. I think this discussion is at an end. I suggest that we make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Well, you know, you didn't do good and well.
Good and welfare, I'm sorry. Any good and welfare from the delegates?
Can I say something with the good welfare?
No. No. This subject is closed, Fred.
Good and welfare, no new subject. Are you on good and welfare for the residents?
Yes.
Okay, may I speak on a new subject? Thank you.
Wait a minute, Ted Spar has something to say. He has precedent.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry to return to the same item as before. Nothing to do with Alan Perlman, but to do with the Village Century letter that was sent out. And I think there should be more of a response from not the executive board, not necessarily the delegates, but 5,000 other people here who presumably get a letter, and we have to have some response to that. And
So,
maybe-
the valid response is, if anybody was offended by the Village Century, they can hit the button at the bottom that says unsubscribe me. This is America.
Okay,
I
maybe
publish
that's
a
a good idea
newsletter.
to
I have
unsubscribe.
certain
That's
rights
what-
guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States, and if you don't like it, don't read it. Period. Period. Don't read it.
Unsubscribe.
You know how many people unsubscribed since I published that? 0 people unsubscribed. You know how many letters I got that weren't manufactured by Mike Limongelli and his cronies? 0 letters.
Okay.
Okay? Does that answer your question?
No, sir, not at all. That's one of the problems. That it wasn't responded to, and it should be.
Ted, case closed. We know where that's coming from. What's your good and welfare?
Okay. This goes to the M&O committee. There is a bylaw section on the M&O committee that says every March the M&O committee has to hold an organizational meeting, and they have to elect a chair and a secretary. I know that Stanley Siegel is the chair. I'd like to know who is the secretary of M&O that's responsible for preparing the minutes for publication in the Cobrua Reporter. That is my question. Can you answer it?
Stanley, tell us. Who's the secretary of M&O?
No.
Alan Perlman is not on the M&O committee.
I thought it was Dave Fisher.
I don't know. Who prepares the minutes?
Actually, there really are no minutes. There is no secretary officially appointed. Stanley is chair. We have all voted for Stanley as chair, and he takes the minutes so that he can make a report to you. So there's never been an official secretary because it's being done by the president to make his report.
So,
I guess we have used the words report and minutes to mean the same thing. And that is the explanation.
So first of all, you are incorrect. When the late George Webman was alive, he was served for at least 1 year as secretary to M&O. So I think you need to walk back that statement that there's never been a secretary. There certainly has. Second of all, the bylaws state that there should be a secretary. So you're telling me that you're running an organization and you're not following your own bylaws. Is that what you're telling me? That we don't care about what the bylaws say? That we're just going to have Stanley Siegel, the chairman, write the minutes that reflect his point of view without a secretary?
There's nothing in the settlement agreement that says there has to be minutes. The settlement agreement and the bylaws say that there has to be a report from the M&O committee. There's a report given to the executive board, there's a report given to the delegates, and there's a report given in the Cobrua paper. It does not say minutes have to be taken. Read the settlement agreement.
Yes.
But it does say that there should be an election of a secretary. Why have you not elected a secretary? And will you please
You addressed it, that's it.
Thank you.
Any other good and welfare? Any other good and welfare? I make a motion, we adjourn. Meeting's adjourned.